I'm 72 years old. I made all the right choices, and I failed at the only thing that mattered. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't lazy. I didn't ruin my life with obvious mistakes. I did everything society rewards. I chose stability. I chose patience. I chose the option that looked mature, responsible, sensible. And from the outside, it worked. I had a steady career. I paid the bills on time. I kept my promises. People trusted me. But here's the truth no one tells you. The choices that look right on paper can quietly destroy your real life. We're taught that sacrifice is noble, that delaying joy is wisdom, that if you endure long enough, life will eventually open its doors and say, now you may live. That's the lie. That's the trap. Life doesn't wait for you to finish preparing. The first person I failed was my daughter. I can still see her clearly, not as she is now, but as she was then. Sitting at the kitchen table, swinging her legs, asking me if I could stay home that evening. Just once. I told her I couldn't. I told her I was doing this for us. I told her she'd understand someday. That sentence followed me for decades. She'll understand. It became my excuse for everything I missed. Birthdays shortened, conversations postponed, moments traded for overtime, and promises of a better future. And the cruel part is this: nothing bad happened right away. There was no explosion, no dramatic loss. Just small absences that felt harmless. Skipped dinners, quiet car rides, a child who stopped asking. At the time, it all looked like the right choice. Responsible, adult, safe. Only much later did I understand what I was really choosing. And that's the part that still keeps me awake at night. For most of my life, I hid behind a virtue, a very respectable one. I told myself I was being responsible. I told myself that love meant providing, that being a good man meant being reliable, steady, predictable. I believed that if I paid the bills, kept the lights on, and made sure there was food on the table, then everything else would somehow take care of itself. I thought presence was optional if security was guaranteed. That was the noble lie, and it felt so clean, so mature, so hard to argue with. Whenever guilt crept in, I crushed it with logic. I'm tired because I work. I miss dinners because I provide. I'm absent now so they can be safe later. I wasn't abandoning my family, I told myself. I was sacrificing for them. That story kept me comfortable for decades. There was a moment I thought proved I was right. I remember it clearly. The day I got the promotion, the one I'd been chasing for years, bigger title, better pay. My own office with a door that closed. I stood there alone after everyone congratulated me, looking at the desk, the chair, the window, and I felt something close to victory. I thought, this is it. This is what all those missed evenings were for. Now we're set. Now I've earned the right to slow down. I went home that night proud, relieved, certain I had crossed some invisible finish line. But the finish line moved. There was always another target, another raise to secure, another year to stabilize, another reason not to change anything yet. I told myself, just a little longer, just until the mortgage is safer, just until college is covered, just until retirement is clear. Tomorrow became my favorite word. Tomorrow I'll be more present. Tomorrow I'll listen better. Tomorrow I'll make time. Tomorrow never showed up. Life became a routine, so tight, I stopped noticing it was shrinking me. Wake up early, commute, work, come home exhausted, eat quickly, fall asleep, repeat. Weekends blurred into errands and recovery. Conversations became updates. Love turned into logistics. I was always tired, always busy, always almost available. And the terrifying thing is, it all felt normal. There was no alarm, no warning sign. Society applauds this kind of life. You're praised for endurance, for sacrifice, for putting your head down and pushing through. No one tells you to look up and check what you're losing while you're being so strong. I told myself my family would wait, that children stay children forever, that relationships pause when you're busy and resume when you're ready. I believed time was flexible, that it could be bent, saved, reclaimed later. That belief was my most expensive mistake, because while I was running on that wheel, life wasn't standing still. It was quietly moving on without me. Moments were happening in my absence. Bonds were forming elsewhere. Habits were changing. People were adapting to a version of me that wasn't really there. At the time, I called it discipline. I called it duty. I called it love. Only now do I understand what it really was. It was fear. Fear of instability. Fear of falling behind. Fear of choosing life over safety and being punished for it. And that fear cost me everything that can't be replaced. The moment everything stopped wasn't dramatic. No sirens, no shouting, just silence in a room that suddenly felt too large for one person. It happened the first week after I retired. I woke up at the same time as always out of habit, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and there was nothing waiting for me. No emails, no calls, no urgency. The world I had organized my entire life around had moved on overnight, and no one noticed I was gone. I told myself that was fine, that this was the reward, the quiet I had earned. Then I opened a drawer looking for an old folder, something work-related, out of instinct, and instead I found a piece of paper, folded so many times the creases were soft. A child's drawing, my daughter's, crayons, a crooked house, 3 stick figures holding hands, one of them taller than the others, with a name written above it in uneven letters. Dad. I had no memory of ever seeing it before. I sat there holding that drawing, and suddenly the clock on the wall felt loud. Each second hit me like a reminder. I tried to place the moment it was made, her age, the day. I couldn't. That terrified me. Not that I had lost the drawing, but that I had lost the memory attached to it. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a souvenir, it was evidence. Evidence of a version of me that was supposed to be there and wasn't. I thought of all the times I said later. All the times I believed there would be a clear finish line. Retirement, security, freedom. I had treated life like a race with a ribbon at the end, but the ribbon kept moving, and the people I loved didn't run with me. They waited, then they stopped waiting. I called my daughter that afternoon, not because something was wrong, just to talk. She answered politely, warmly even, but cautiously, like you speak to someone you respect but don't rely on. We talked about weather, about work, about practical things. When the call ended, I realized something painful and undeniable. I no longer knew the details of her life, and she no longer expected me to. That drawing stayed on the table all day. I couldn't put it back. It felt wrong to hide it again. It was too honest, too late, but honest. It told me the truth I had avoided for decades. While I was chasing a future that never arrived, the present expired quietly. People don't wait forever. Love doesn't pause. And the finish line doesn't mean anything if you cross it alone. That was the moment I understood, not intellectually, in my bones. I had won the race I invented, and I had lost the life I was supposed to live. Here's what I learned too late. Money is reversible. Status is reversible. Even health sometimes can be fought for and partially reclaimed. You can rebuild a career. You can recover from a financial hit. You can move to a new house, start a new routine, reorganize your life, make it look clean again. But you cannot rebuild a childhood you missed. You cannot buy back a decade of dinners you skipped. You cannot manufacture the kind of closeness that is only formed when you're there in the small, ordinary moments. Time is the one currency that never comes back. Not in bills, not in checks, not in apologies. People talk about regret like it's a feeling, like it's a mood you can shake off. But regret is physical. It's waking up in a quiet house and realizing you have no one to tell the small things to. It's seeing a joke online and having no one who will laugh with you the way your wife used to. It's hearing your own voice in the kitchen and realizing it echoes because there's no one else's voice answering. My daughter is kind to me. That's the strange part. She didn't cut me off. She didn't scream. She didn't punish me. She's polite. She checks in. She asks if I'm okay. But she speaks to me like you speak to a distant relative, not like you speak to the person who raised you. I lost the right to her secrets. I lost the right to be the first person she calls when something happens. I get the official version of her life, the safe version, the version that doesn't require trust. And it's not because she's cruel. It's because we didn't build that bridge when it mattered. We built a structure of responsibility instead. Bills paid, roof secured, schedule maintained, but no real bridge. The same thing happened with work. When I retired, I expected at least a little space in people's minds, a goodbye that lasted, a sense that I mattered. Do you know how long it took for the office to forget me? 2 weeks, maybe less. Someone else sat at my desk. My name stopped coming up. The machine didn't even pause. So you start looking for a witness, someone who remembers you before you became this careful, tired person. Someone who remembers your jokes, your energy, your plans, the way you used to talk about the future like it was endless. For me, that witness was my wife. She was the only person who knew me in all my versions. The young man with nothing. The father trying to prove himself. The older man hiding behind duty. And when she left me, quietly, without drama, after years of feeling alone next to me, it was like a part of my history was erased. Not because she disappeared from the world, but because she disappeared from my daily life. There is something terrifying about losing the one person who can say, I remember you when you were real. Without that witness, your past becomes a story no one else can confirm, and you start to feel like a ghost in your own life. That's the price. Not loneliness in the dramatic sense, something worse. Being surrounded by people and still feeling like you don't belong anywhere in their hearts. Listen to me carefully now. Not as a narrator, not as a character, as a man who ran out of time. I know what you're telling yourself. I use the same words. I know you're tired after work. I know your back hurts and your head is full. I know you think this pressure is temporary, that once you get this raise, this bonus, this promotion, things will finally calm down. I know you believe your family would rather have security than your attention. I know you think you'll call your parents on the weekend. I know you think there will be a better moment, a cleaner moment, a less busy moment. That moment is a fantasy. Here's the part that still haunts me at night. No one ever comes to tell you that you've waited too long. There's no announcement, no deadline. People just slowly adjust to your absence. They learn not to expect you. And once that happens, you can't force your way back in. You can show up later with time and money and regret in your hands, and it still won't open the same doors. I thought love was patient. I thought relationships were elastic. I thought I could stretch them and they'd snap back into place when I was ready. They don't. They harden, they cool, they become polite. So I'm not asking you to change your whole life. I'm not telling you to quit your job or burn everything down. I'm giving you one simple instruction. One, close the laptop today, not tomorrow. Today, go sit with the person you love. Call the person whose voice you've been postponing. Be present without explaining why you're tired. Don't multitask your way through it. Just be there. If you're watching this and something in you feels uncomfortable, that's not motivation. That's recognition. That's you seeing yourself a few decades from now, sitting in a quiet room, wondering how everything slipped by so cleanly. If this story reached you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe not for numbers, but because I don't have many years left to say this, and maybe someone else needs to hear it before it's too late. Write in the comments who you're going to call today. Say it out loud, make it real. Give me your word that you won't make my mistake. And if you can, share this. Not for me. For the person who still believes that the right choice will eventually turn into the right life. Don't wait 50 years to understand this, because unlike me, you still have time